The views and opinions expressed on the cap are those of the hosts. They do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Old Milk Media. Any opinions stated aren't intended to offend anyone. On this episode of the Cap Podcast, we react to Deep Thoughts by Lil Durk. Welcome back. This is episode 607 of your critical but accurate tour through hip hop, the Cat Podcast. We are your tour guys. I'm Nate Spurl, and that's Terry McLeod. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you might be tuning in. Feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation, leave a comment. But yeah, Taylor, how you doing?
Good. Do you know what these wonderful people listening don't know?
What do they not know?
We're gonna be together next weekend.
Oh, that's true. Gonna
Look at
be gonna
that.
be we're gonna go to the Boston Red Sox game and I'm booing everybody except for Cubs legend Wilson Contreras.
And I'm gonna boo Nate right to his face, right next to him. He's gonna be booing my baby boys, and I'm gonna
Yes.
be booing him.
Yes. I might
I
give Devers a pass. We'll see. I like Devers.
I like Devers too.
You better like Devers,
Of
especially
course I
wearing that
like
coat.
Devers. That's
Yeah.
my guy.
Yeah.
You can't even see the coat. I showed it last because you were I can't even remember why I did it. But I'm wearing it to upset you. I can't lie. When I put it on, I was like, Nate's gonna say, "Oh," because usually he's like, "What an ugly hat." But I was like, if I just have this coat on, he doesn't say anything. I snuck it right under the radar.
You did.
Yeah.
That
So,
that that would have passed the if we had like a dressing room or whatever, I would have had whoever like take it out, just like throw it out somewhere.
so we got right now. What's the score? It's Nate 0, the chat 2, Taylor 1.
Yeah, basically.
We're playing different games, but I'm on that scoreboard.
That being said, on this episode, we are reacting to Deep Thoughts by Lil Durk. This album is 17 tracks, 45 minutes long, featuring Future, Lil Baby, Janae Aiko, and Honcho. Once again, feel free to join the conversation by leaving a comment about what you think about Deep Thoughts. That being said, Taylor, what do you think about this album?
I think, unfortunately, here, let me start by saying this. I think almost every song here is good, right? I think that almost every song here features like very like high level rapping by Lil Durk in the style that Lil Durk has made popular over the last decade, right? Like in his style, like what makes Lil Durk, he does it on this album from top to bottom, front to back. He raps super well on it. Like the flexes are there, like they always are. The introspective life talk is here, like it always is. And then the melodies, which he does, maybe better than anyone from like the movement that he came up with or came up in, right? He does that better. But I think there's a certain point when like you almost get too good at making that same song or style of
Mhm.
song over and over again. And so they might not sound the same, but the song, like the feeling you get is basically the same. And that's how I feel about a lot of these songs on Deep Thoughts, where I think it's just like pretty like cookie cutter Lil Durk, which isn't a
Yeah.
problem. Like that's not
Mhm.
a bad product at all, because he's great. Like he's super talented. I like listening to his music. Um, but I think that like on previous albums, we've seen him take chances in certain spots, in some successfully and some not successfully, but we've seen him like take those chances. And on this album, we don't get that. But there is the caveat that he has been in jail for the last months. So this album may have been a handful or a batch of songs that were ready to go and finished, and they put them together in the album and put it out. So we don't know how that came together. So I will put that caveat in there. But like first reaction, I think it's a good album. I think the songs individually are good. I just think that's where it ends. It's like a collection of good songs, but I wouldn't call it like a masterful album.
Yeah. I think that we knew that a Lil Durk album was coming last year, and then Lil Durk got incarcerated in October 2024. And because of that, I didn't really know what to expect because I remember when we talked about Business is Business, it kind of felt like a lot of the songs like they were concepts more than actual songs. And I think here the same thing might be true for this album also, but I think they do a really good job of like kind of papering over the cracks or cementing the cracks, kind of. Like there are a lot of songs here where it's like Lil Durk, it's like a Lil Durk, just a verse and then like a hook and then another hook. and then that's the song, or it's just like a full verse. And the only song where that seems to be fully intentional from Lil Durk is Notebook, because on Notebook it says no hook, and then at the end, the full name of the song is Notebook no hook, and then at the end, Lil Durk is saying no hook, no hook, no hook. So it's clear that for track 10, that is intentional. For the rest of them, I don't know. So that being said, it's kind of hard for me to have expectations when it kind of feels like when going into it, you kind of know that Lil Durk wasn't able to give this album the full attention that he usually would give an album. And additionally, like I just don't know like what's supposed to be what's intentional, what's not intentional. It's very well plausible that some of these songs could have been Lil Durk starting off with a hook and then having a verse and then just leaving the song to sit for a little bit, planning on coming back to do a second verse or maybe even a third verse and not being able to do it because he got locked up. So that being said, the expectations just simply aren't there. But that being said, also it does surpass my expectations understanding the situation that this album was born from.
For sure.
Um I think that there is a effort to kind of separate the album in terms of like rapping Lil Durk first and then melodic Lil Durk on the second half of the album, and I like that. Um, I've already said it before. I'll say it again. I'm more of a fan of the rapping Lil Durk than the singing Lil Durk. So I like the first part of the album more than the second part of the album. But there were a few tracks on the second part of the album that I really, really enjoyed. Some of the tracks I kind of had to like spin back towards. Um, but yeah, like and also some of the hooks on this album also are just like the same thing said twice, or it's just like two lines, two separate lines and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So some of the hooks also feel incomplete. Um, and I also feel like but when I first like wrote my initial thoughts, I felt like none of the tracks had hit potential. But I will say maybe like Can't Hide It with Janae Aiko or Wondering Again, that those two tracks might have some hit potential. But besides that, like it's a pretty standard Lil Durk album. He's going to give you that auto-tune melody. He's going to give you that aggressive rapping, and he's going to pair it together in a way that makes Lil Durk fans satisfied. I think overall, if you were someone coming in and you were like, "Yeah, Lil Durk's dropping. I'm excited for Lil Durk," and it doesn't matter like what would have came out of this, you're probably really satisfied with this album. If you're someone looking for some growth from Lil Durk, um, he just simply wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I feel about the album. Overall, there are some tracks that I will listen to again, but at the same time, like I think that this album could have been more fleshed out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important that you and I both noted like the reason why this isn't more fleshed out, right? And it's like we're not it's really hard to pass like actual judgment on an album when you don't know how it came together, or at least not how it came together, because we usually don't know how albums come together. But
Mhm.
at least if someone is like not in Dirk's situation right now, where he can't make change things and make music and do all that, like when someone is not in that situation, it's easy to be like, hey, you had all these resources, you could have grown. But when someone's not in that scenario, like, or in the situation that Dirk is in right now, it's kind of like hard to pass negative judgment on a project like this, especially because, like I said, like the songs aren't bad. I just think there's like a ceiling. There's a pretty like the ceiling for this album is like right in the middle of like
Mhm.
a great album and an awful album, and it's just like right. It's like an average album by a talented rapper. I do think that like from the beginning, I thought that Shaking When I Pray and Keep on Sipping, I thought that was going to set the kind of the tone, because that those songs both get into like real life, or like real like moments of like juxtaposition for him, where it's
Mhm.
like when like Shaking When I Pray, it's like you're praying, you're going through this religious experience, but it's obviously not easier, like and so much goes into that. And I thought that like those two songs and Keep on Sipping, I thought those two songs were super like personable and personal, and then that kind of like goes away. So I do wonder if like I wonder I and speculate doesn't really do anything or help anything, but wondering I guess is a little different. I do wonder if, like you said, this was like a big like group of like almost like sketches for songs, where it's
Yeah.
like, all right, here's like three quarters of the idea, and then you go back through and you tweak some stuff, get rid of some stuff, keep other stuff, make new stuff. And like I wonder if like certain songs were farther along in the process or if this album was all together. Because there's not really like any, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, but you might like there's not really any like it's a cohesive album in the sense that it sounds the same, but there's not like a real like through line through any of it.
Yeah.
It's just like it feels like individual songs just put in a track list together.
Yeah, I would say if I had to find a through line through them all, I would probably say just like vulnerability, because I think that on a lot of these tracks he is vulnerable. He's vulnerable about different things. Um, but I would agree with you that like there isn't really, but like besides the sound, and even the sound kind of like there are some tracks that are kind of like outliers compared to the rest of the tracks.
Yeah.
And the way that it's organized, like I like again, like I like that they have like the rapping Lil Durk and then they have the singing Lil Durk. I think that comes together really, really well. But overall, like I think Lil Durk knows that if he was free, he'd probably come through with a more cohesive album.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I will give him credit, and this is credit for him as an artist. Probably like 5, 6 years ago, if you would have told me that Lil Durk was in this situation and he put out an album like this, I wouldn't have expected it to be this good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're kind of like counting Lil Durk's talent against them, kind of, because you said it before also, like it's kind of like a standard or like a basic album for a talented rapper.
Yeah.
And I think that talented in that statement needs to hold a lot of weight because they are still rappers who are free who cannot make music like this and cannot
Yeah.
deliver this type of product. So Lil Durk being able to do this with one hand tied behind his back, essentially, I think that's still kind of impressive. I like some of the messages on this album also. Like I like what Lil Durk and Lil Baby come together to talk about on 1,000 Times. I like they want to. I like they want to be you. I think that's a really good track. I also think that could be an example of, or that could be a result of Lil Durk being incarcerated because it really is like it feels like a Lil Durk song, but Future has more of a presence on it than Lil
Yeah.
Durk.
Hmm.
Future starts it off with a hook, and then we have like kind of like two short verses from Durk, and then we have another Future hook, and then um I'm not remembering if Future has a verse here, but it really sounds like they kind of like Lil Durk, like to use a basketball term, I guess, which I know you're gonna use when you talk about final thoughts. It kind of feels like Lil Durk got hurt, and then Future was like the next man up, and it's like
Yeah.
Future get in the game.
Yeah.
Still a really good track, but that's just how it comes off to me. Um, but yeah, like I like that track. Can't hide it. I like the way that Lil Durk and Janae Aiko's melody kind of blend together, especially at the end. Like I didn't think that would be like uh that wouldn't be a pairing that if it didn't exist, I would think would be something I would like, but I did end up liking it. I'll also say for Late Checkout, featuring Honcho. When I first listened to it, I didn't really like the Honcho verse on there at all. But the second listen through, I like the Honcho verse is more favorable to me now. I always thought that Lil Durk's presence on the song was good, but my flip with how I felt about Honcho's presence on it makes that song for me also. And besides that, like towards the end, I think towards the stretch, um, you kind of want more from Lil Durk in terms of closing out the album. But overall, with the circumstances being what they are, I think this is still a really solid album from Lil Durk.
Yeah. My only two other notes is I think on the intro, Shaking When I Pray, he crazy flex. He said he was in the same hospital that Damar Hamlin was in
Oh
and
yeah,
that it's not cheap. Crazy.
that's a crazy
And
flex.
then and then my on the outro, the the first verse is like very vulnerable or whatever, and then the hook starts and he goes like things could get ugly. And I was like that kind of like made me like laugh a little bit during like what's supposed to be like a real sad song. And I was like, Dirk, come on. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like we can't do the the broken in half ugly, like real loud in the middle of a song like that. But
Playback value.
playback value, I think Lil Durk fans will play this a lot. I'm gonna say objectively, I'll say a week. It's hard to tell because I
Mhm.
haven't seen anyone talking about this like at all either.
Mhm.
So I'll say a week for myself. I'm probably not gonna come back to this very often, unfortunately. So I'll say a week objectively. Subjectively, I'm probably not coming back to this.
Yeah, for me, I subjectively I'll give it a chance for the songs that I like to grow on me, so I'll probably give it a week. But objectively, I don't know. Like, I want to say 2 weeks, just because Lil Durk is. I don't know where Lil Durk stands in hip hop right now.
I don't
Honestly,
either.
like
I don't either.
when he dropped his last album, Almost Healed, it was clear that he was maybe like a top 10 rapper, maybe even a top 5 rapper in terms of popularity. But now. I'm not exactly sure. And not really having much or not really seeing much buzz around this album kind of makes me feel like objectively it might be less than 2 weeks. Like you said, like Lil Durk has a core fan base that's gonna play this forever. And they're probably very satisfied by this. But in terms of like the ether of hip hop, I think I'm gonna stand on 2 weeks. Last thoughts?
Yeah, so my final thoughts are, and like you said, you and I have gotten a lot better about making basketball and sports comparisons because it's not always the best way to convey it, but I am going to use one here. I think this album is like watching like your favorite or like a pro basketball player like play in like practice or a pickup game or like training. So where like you get to see exactly why they are as good as they are at something. You get to see all of the skills on display. There's just no stakes, right? Like it's not the NBA finals. It's not like it's just like going to get working. It's almost like watching the process instead of the result, which
Like
is fine.
preseason kind of.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like preseason or like regular season that doesn't. There's nothing really going on. It's not that important, but you can still go perform well. So that's how I feel about it. It's like to me, it's like watching an NBA player like shoot shots against no defenders. And then my favorite tracks are Untouchable and Keep Sipping.
Yeah. For me, Lil Durk delivers your standard Lil Durk album despite lacking a true hit, providing a mix of his aggressive rapping and auto-tune singing, pleasing both sides of his fan base. Top three, number three, Wondering Again. Number two, They Wanna Be You. And then number one, Untouchable. Thank you for tuning into episode 607 of the Cat Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Check out our previous episodes on Playboi Carti's music, Kendrick Lamar's Tip and Butterfly, Nav's On My Way to Rexdale, and more. Make your voice heard by telling us your favorite song from Deep Thoughts by Lil Durk in the comments below and voting in our poll. You decide if Deep Thoughts is album of the year, fire, mid, or trash. Check out Old Milk on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Old Milk Media. Check out oldmilk.co for more information. I'm Nate Sperlin. That's Taylor McLeod. And we'll be back when hip hop tells us to be. We are out. Thank you for watching.